Listen, I'm sorry if my camera gets blurry sometimes or if it starts zooming in and out, but I really don't know how to operate this camera. I got all this shit in here and I don't know how to use it. Anyway,
Brooklyn, 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 Brooklyn,
I'm
Brooklyn.
going to tell you the story of how I met Mariska Hargitay. Now, if you don't know who Mariska Hargitay is, where you been? That's Olivia Benson, the lady from Law and Order SVU. Boom, 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 boom. That lady, all right? So let me give you a whole disclaimer. This story is going to sound crazy. It sounds like a whole ass lie. I promise you, the whole thing is true. If you ever meet Mariska Hargitay somewhere or see her, ask her about the story. She will tell you that is true. I promise you. But it sounds crazy. Sounds like a lie. It sounds like a weird dream. But anyway, so this is what happened. One day, I was home from work. I had a cold, so I was home for like 3 days straight. And you know how USA and what's that other channel, TBS? They used to play like Law and Order SVU marathons all day, like 24 hours, just back to back to back to back. So I was so sick. I was like, I didn't even feel like changing the channel. And I was like, you know what? This show is good. I'm gonna just watch this. So I was just laying on my bed watching Law and Order SVU all day and all night, just sick as hell. And while I was watching it, I was like, you know what? I really like this show. And I really like that lady. She is dope. I was like, I wonder what she's like in real life. Like, is she all hard like Olivia Benson, or is she a soft, sweet lady in real life? So I was like, let me look her up. So I go on my laptop, I Google her, I start watching interviews of her on Jay Leno. And I'm like, yo, she is actually really cool. She's really funny and cute and sweet. I love her. So then I like Googled her and I found this website. It was like mariska.com or something like that, right? So I go on the website and I'm like clicking on pictures or whatever. You know how they have like a little thumbnail, and when you click the thumbnail, it turns into a larger picture. So I clicked on little thumbnails, it comes up with a picture, and I'm like looking at different pictures. So then one thumbnail I clicked, it didn't go to a larger picture. It opened up my email. So I'm like, yeah, something's wrong with this website because it ain't supposed to do that. But I'm like, what the hell? Since I'm in the email anyway, let me email the webmaster and tell them that their site got like little glitches in it. So I emailed them and I'm like, hey, I was checking out your website, really cool. But you know, some of your pictures they ain't working because when I click on them, it takes me to email instead of a larger version of the picture. So I just wanted to let you know that. But by the way, I love your website and Mariska Hargitay rocks. That's what I said. About an hour later, I get an email back. Hey, thanks for letting me know about my website. I'll let the webmaster know. By the way, you rock too, babe. Love, Mariska. I was like, ain't no way that's Mariska Hargitay emailing me back because, first of all, she got better things to do than be emailing me. Second of all, don't they got people to do that? They got people to be emailing for them and stuff. So I wrote them back. I was like, this is not Mariska Hargitay, and you should not be on the internet pretending to be her. That ain't right. Because you're going to get some fan all hyped up, and it ain't even her. Don't do that. Don't be pretending to be other people. So she writes back, no, I promise you, it's really me. What she do that for? What did she do that for? I'm like, why would she tell me that? Because now I got Mariska Hargitay's email address. I can email her whenever I want. And you know, I ain't got nothing to do. I started emailing her all the time. Like that was my best friend. I'm like, hey girl, what you doing? I used to be at work sometimes emailing her from my work email address. And sometimes I used to be bored at work. I used to be like, I don't feel like doing this. Let me see what Mariska Hargitay doing. And I would email her and I would email her the dumbest stuff. Cause I don't know, I'm goofy and I just be saying some funny stuff. I used to email her like reviews of the show. Like, yeah, girl, I watched the new episode last night and I remember one time I emailed her because I was getting irritated by the way that they make black people talk on Law and Order SVU. Like sometimes you could tell that the writers are not black people because they be making black people talk fun. They be sounding like some old slaves, and I'm like, look, black people may use a certain dialect and a certain lingo, But we don't sound like that. Like, even though it's Ebonics, there's still rules. There's still vocabulary rules to Ebonics, okay? You can't just be throwing random B's and ain'ts in the middle of a sentence and think you speaking like a black person. They be like, I don't be going to no stove. I'm like, why the fuck they talking like that? I don't be talking to no police. I don't be doing that. I'm like, black people don't talk like that. Like, we will throw a B or ain't in the middle of a sentence. We don't like, I don't be ain't don't talk about no. I'm like, what the fuck? So I was emailing her like, yo, why do black people on your show be talking like that? That ain't how we talk. Like, there's rules to Ebonics. Y'all need to get some black people on this show. And she used to be writing me back too. She used to be like, LOL, that's funny, blah, blah, blah. I used to just email her all the time. She would just like, one time she emailed me Happy Easter. I was like, oh shit, Mariska Hargitay wished me a Happy Easter. I was like, this is pretty dope. I got me a new friend. So I used to just be emailing her like just dumbass stuff. So one day I emailed her some dumbass thing that I thought was funny. And she emailed me back, what is wrong with you? That's what she said. Now, you know, in emails, the tone of a sentence can get lost in translation because you can't hear what they're saying. So you don't know how she meant it. So she could have been like, girl, what's wrong with you? Or she could have been like, what's wrong with you? Or she could have been like, what is wrong with you? You know, like, I didn't know how to take it. So I was like, okay, this lady think I'm crazy. I mean, I am kind of crazy, but I'm not the bad kind of crazy. You know, I'm the, you crazy, that kind of crazy. But I was like, she think I'm the crazy kind of crazy. So I was like, you know what? I ain't emailing this lady no more. I ain't never emailing her again. So I didn't. I ain't email her no more. So I was sitting at my job one day, maybe like 2-3 weeks after I stopped emailing her, right? Sitting in my job. It's after 6 o'clock. I should have been gone. This is back when we had sidekicks. And I had the sidekick. And I saw that Paris Hilton had a sidekick with Swarovski crystals on it. And I wanted one of those. But I couldn't afford no Swarovski crystals. So I bought this paper that was like sparkly. And I was like gluing it onto my phone to make it look like it was like the ghetto version of the Swarovski phone. It ain't really come out right. But anyway, so I'm sitting at my desk when I should be leaving, cutting out sparkly paper, sticking it on my sidekick. I hear somebody say, is Brooklyn here? And then I hear the lady in the cubicle next to me talking about she in her cubicle right over there. I'm like, your big mouth. Because I was sitting there mad quiet. I'm like, maybe if I be quiet and sit still, they'll go away like a bear. So I'm like, dang, the lady done dined me out. So let me see who this is and what they want. I stand up. Now, I had been looking down at my phone for a long time. So, you know, when you be looking at your phone for a long time, it take your eyes a minute to focus. So when I looked up, everything was blurry. So I'm like, I just see a group of people standing there. And one of them looked kind of like a cop. And I had gotten into a little bit of trouble a week prior to that. So I was kind of shook. I was like, oh, snap. The cops found me. They done came to my job to arrest me. I ain't do nothing that bad. But, you know, I got into a little bit of trouble. I was young. But anyway, so I stand up and I see somebody, they look like a detective because they don't have on like a cop uniform, but it was very detective-y. It was like a leather jacket and they had like the gun holster and like the badge and like some slacks. And I was like, oh shoot, the cops. And then as I'm like panning the detective's body, I get to the face and I'm like, why does that cop look like the lady from Law and Order? And then I was like, wait a minute. That is the lady from Law and Order. And she looks at me and she's like, ha, I found you. And I'm like, huh? And I was, at this point, I'm looking around because I'm like, is there cameras in here? Because this was around like when Punk'd and there was a show on MTV called Fanatic or something like that. So I'm looking around for cameras because I'm like, did they just bring cameras into my job and try to embarrass me in front of the world? So she saw me looking around and she's like, you looking for cameras, ain't you? She was like, there's no cameras around. You're not on Punk'd. You're not on any show. She was like, but I just came here because I wanted to meet you. She wanted to meet me. Get into that. She's like, I wanted to meet you. She was like, I wanted to put a face with the emails. She was like, you send me these hilarious emails all the time. I love them. I look forward to your emails. And she was like, you stopped emailing me. And I looked up your job because you remember I told you sometimes I email her from my job. So it was like my name at company.com. This stalker Googled my company, looked up the address and gonna call to ask the receptionist if I was there. And the receptionist said, yeah, thank the Lord she wasn't a serial killer, because she would have came and got my ass, damn receptionist, just telling everybody where I work. But anyway, she said she Googled my job, came up to my job to meet me because they were shooting SVU in the area of my job. So she was like, now is the perfect time because I'm like right down the street. On my break, I'm going to run off set, run on over to there and meet this girl. I could not believe my eyes. At this point, I'm like shaking because I don't know I'm like, what is happening right now? I was so confused. She comes up to me, she grabs my arms, and she's like, I found you. I'm a detective and I found you. And in my mind, I'm like, you do know you just played one on TV, right? But I was just like, I was just so in awe and just like, I didn't know what to do. So she just grabbed me and she hugged me. And I hugged her back and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then for a second, I hear like talking off to the side. It's the lady in the other cubicle. She over there babbling, talking to herself. I don't even know what she was saying. I think she was just like really excited because Mariska Hargitay was there, but she was talking, but wasn't nobody paying her no mind. She was over there in her own little world, talking to herself. Me and Mariska hugging and talking. And the other people that were with Mariska that I found out later were like two of her assistants and her driver. So at some point while all this is going on, the driver disappeared. Because like when I looked over my cubicle, it was like Mariska, two other girls, and a dude. The dude was gone. So it was like Mariska and the two girls. So she's like, Mariska's like, what are you doing right now? And I'm like, nothing. I'm like off work. And she's like, why don't you come with me? And I'm like, okay. I ain't even asked her where we was going. Mariska Hargitay said, come with me. I was like, all right, let's go. So I'm like leaving with this lady. I'm shaking like a leaf. I don't know what the hell's going on. I get on the elevator with her. I'm looking at her like, and she's like, this is freaky, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, you don't know what to do with yourself, do you? I was like, nah. She was like, man, I really wish I had a camera right now so you could see the look on your face. She was like, I wish you could see your face. She was like, this is really hilarious. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was just like freaked out, but in a good way. I was like, this is crazy. So we're on the elevator, right? So we get to the lobby. I get off the elevator. We walk out of the building and we're standing outside. So Mariska's like looking up and down the block. There's a precinct directly across the street from my job. My job was on like West 31st Street between like 7th and 8th or something like that. It was over there, but there was a precinct right across the street from my job. So we're standing outside and I'm standing outside with her. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm following her. So she starts walking down the street. So me and the other two girls start walking down the street. Then she starts running. So I'm like, what? Why's she running? So I'm just standing there looking at her run down the street. She stops and turns around. And she's like, what are you waiting for? Come on. And I'm like, okay. So I start running too. So now it's Mariska in front of me, the other two girls in front of me, and me. We just running down the street. I don't even know where we're going. Then she stops in her tracks and she's like, oh shit, we're going the wrong way. Go back that way. So now we about face. Now I'm in front. So I'm running. The two girls and Mariska's behind me. Now it looks like the cops are chasing me because she has on like her detective uniform with the gun holster and the badge. She's running behind me. And mind you, we're on the block to my job. So like coworkers are like standing outside, smoking cigarettes and waiting for their car. They see me running down the street, look like I'm running from the cops. So we get to the corner and now we're standing there like waiting. I don't even know what we're waiting for. But I remember I think it was Friday. And I was supposed to be going to a cookout at my grandmother's house. And my mom was waiting for me. So I called my mom and I'm like, yo, Mom, I ain't going to make it to the cookout. So you just going to have to go without me. And she's like, why you not come to the cookout? And I'm like, yo, because the lady from Law and Order came to my job. So now I'm going somewhere with her. And my mom was like, you ain't going nowhere with no lady from Law and Order. You don't know her. And I'm like, yeah, but she came to my job. She was like, no, people from TV shows don't just show up at people's job coming to get them. You don't even know. She was like, what if it ain't even really her? And I'm like, Mom, it's her. Because she ain't Michael Jackson. I'm pretty sure ain't no Mariska Hargitay impersonators just walking around Manhattan coming to people's job to pick them up. I'm like, Mom, I know it's her because like before she came here, we had like back and forth in email through her website. I know it's her. And I was like, Mom, you know I always listen to you. I always do what you say. But this time, I ain't gonna do it. I'm gonna have to go do what I want to do because this is a once in a lifetime thing, and I really want to go wherever Mariska Hargitay is taking me. So my mom was like, you know what? Live your life, have fun. Tell Mariska Hargitay I said bye. And Mariska's looking at me, and she's like, your mom thinks I'm a kidnapper, huh? And I'm like, yeah, my mom thinks you're a kidnapper. She think you crazy. And she's like, I promise, mom, she's in good hands. So my mom's like, bring her to the cookout. I'm like, mom, Mariska Hargitay don't want to come to the cookout and sit on the stoop at Grandma House in East New York, Brooklyn. Okay. And so right after the phone call ends, a green SUV pulls up. And it's the driver dude. So we open the door and Mariska's like, okay, guys, get in. So we hop in the back of the SUV. Look, kids, I don't recommend y'all getting in cars with strangers. But if it's Mariska Hargitay, go ahead. But anyway, so I get in the back of the car and I'm like, oh shit, this is crazy. And Mariska turns around in her seat and she's like, okay, now, guys, when we get back to the set, just play it cool, okay? Don't tell anybody that I left the set because I wasn't supposed to leave the set. We were just like on a little break, but we were like right down the street, so I just decided to sneak off the set. So she was like, you talking to me, you go with these two girls into my trailer and wait for me. I'll be there in a minute. I'm like, okay. This is like the adventure of a lifetime. So I followed the two girls. I'm sitting in the trailer. I'm like, oh snap. I ain't know what to do. I was like, this is like a dream. I was like, if I wake up from this and this is not true, I'm gonna be so mad. And mind you, like maybe 2 days before that, I had met some other Mariska Hargitay fan on the internet, literally like 2 days before that, and we had gained a rapport. So we were like talking back and forth, like texting or emailing or whatever we did back in the early 2000s. And I emailed her because I was freaking out. I ain't had nobody else to tell. I was like, oh my God, girl. I was like, Mariska Hargitay done came to my job to get me, and I'm on the set with her. I'm literally sitting in her trailer right now. The girl gonna email me back like, why would you lie to me about something like that? She was like, that doesn't even make sense. That she was like, you must be like a crazy person. She was like, I thought, we talked to each other for 2 days and you seemed pretty sane. And now you're emailing me out of the blue talking about Mariska Hargitay came to your job to pick you up. Like, don't even email me no more. And I'm like, yo, I'm dead ass. I'm serious, girl. I was like, I'm gonna prove it to you. All right, I'm gonna prove it to you. So, um, maybe like 15 minutes later, Mariska pops the door open. Hey, girl. And I'm like, what up, girl? Like, we homies now. I'm like, hey, Mariska. And she's like, I love you. You know how to pronounce my name right. See, I'm the type of person that I like to get people's name right because people get my name wrong a lot, and I don't appreciate that. But anyway, so she sits down next to me, and I'm like, oh, snap, Mariska Hargitay is sitting right here. And she's like asking me all these questions. She's like, so who are you? What do you do? She starts talking to me and she's like, I just love you so much. She's like, you're so funny. Your emails are hysterical. You crack me up. She was like, I started looking forward to your emails every day. Like I would run to my email when I get a break, hoping that you email me. She said, I started reading your emails to other people. People would start knocking on my trailer door asking me, hey, did that girl email you today? And we would all sit around reading your emails, dying laughing. This is what she's telling me. And I'm like, oh my God. She's like, your emails are just like the highlight of my day. So I just wanted to meet you and put a face to these emails and just tell you how much joy you bring us on the set of SVU. And I'm like, what? Okay. And she's like, tell me about yourself. Like, who are you? What are you doing? I'm like, at the time I was rapping. So I was like, you know what I'm saying? I'm a rapper. And she was like, I want to hear your music. I want to hear some of your music. And I was like, okay, I'll email you some songs. And so we just like sat there and we talked, and it was weird because like while I'm talking to her, I was like texting the girl, like, oh my God, Mariska Hargitay sitting right next to me right now. And Mariska's like, get off your phone and talk to me. And I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm like, I was talking to another one of your fans because I just can't believe what's happening. And I'm trying to share the moment with her. But okay, I'll tell her later. So I'm just like sitting there talking to Mariska. And she's like, come on, come with me. I'm going to introduce you to everyone. So we leave her trailer. We're on the set. She introduces me to Chris Maloney and all like the crew members and everyone. And I don't think Ice-T was there that day, but I remember meeting Chris Maloney, and I got to watch her film a scene, which was really cool. And I remember when the episode came on, I was so excited because I was like, I was there, I was standing right over there when all of this was happening. But anyway, so after she like rapped, we went sat in her trailer for a minute, we talked, and then one of her friends came like out of the blue, I guess she was walking down the street and stumbled upon the set of SVU and knocked on Mariska's trail. And now her friends in there poaching on my situation. I'm like, look, you know this lady. You get to talk to her all the time. Now you up in here talking to Mariska when I'm supposed to be talking to her. So she just dominated our whole conversation. I'm still mad at her friend. I don't even know who that was. But anyway, so I got to spend like a little bit more time with Mariska. We took a couple of pictures together, and I will show you those pictures in a minute. So after that, I'm like on cloud nine. I can't believe what happened. I'm like calling everybody I know, telling them what happened, sounding crazy as hell because ain't nobody trying to believe no stupid story like that. But I promise you, it's true. So the next day, I get back to work. Everybody bum rushes me. We heard the lady from Law and Order was here yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, bitch, she was, and you missed it. My boss comes running up to me practically crying. She's like, I can't believe I missed her. My boss she was right in her office when all of that happened, literally on the other side of the door, but she had her door closed. She's like, why didn't you tell me Olivia was here? And I'm like, I didn't know you cared. I didn't know you liked her. I was like, I was so freaking bugged out in the moment. I wasn't even thinking about you. Sorry, I was like freaked out. Why your assistant was standing over there babbling? She should have knocked on your door and told you. But anyway, it was just like crazy. The receptionist is like, that's who I was talking to on the phone when I told her where you work. I'm like, yeah, bitch, you lucky it wasn't a killer because all our asses would have been dead. But she was like excited that she had talked to Mariska. Then the phone rings, right? So I get a page over the loudspeaker. Hey, Brooklyn, you have a call on line one. So when the call comes in, you have a call on line one. Everyone in their cubicle stands up and looks at me. So I'm like, well, everybody looking at me. I get calls all the time. But what I didn't know is that the receptionist had told everybody, oh my God, before she told me I had a call on line one, she done told everybody, the lady from Law and Order is on line one. She's calling her right now. So I'm walking to the phone and I'm like, why is everybody looking at me? So I get on the phone and she's like, hey girl, it's Mariska. And I'm like, oh my God. Like I got a meeting yesterday. I get a phone call today. Like what is happening? And she tells me, she's like, yo, I listened to your songs. She was like, they're so dope. I had to play them for Ice-T. She was like, Ice-T want to talk to you. I was like, what? She puts Ice-T on the phone. He's like, yo, what's up, homegirl? Your music is dope. He was like, yo, you got bars for days. He was like, you kind of remind me of Eve. And he started talking all this stuff. He like, I wish I could put you on, but I ain't in the rap game no more. Nigga, you know you lying. Like, you might not be in the rap game, but you knew some people in the rap game. You could have put me on. But that's beside the point, because I ain't rapping no more anyway. But you could have. But anyway, Mariska was like, yo, I love your song. I think you're so dope. She was like, there's this one song you have called One of These Days that I really love. She's like, can I put it on my website? Mariska Hargitay wanted to put my song on her website. And she did. She got her whole website redesigned after I told her webmaster how raggedy her site was. I guess she was like, can't have this. So she had her site redesigned. And it was a section called like Mariska's favorites. And in her favorites, she put her favorite song was my song. It was called One of These Days. And it was like an MP3 of my song on her website. I don't know if it's still up there. It's probably not, because that was like mad years ago. It was like before she had her son August. That's how long ago it was. But I made like screenshots and shit of that. It's probably in my email somewhere, just like the screenshots of my song. It was like One of These Days, because I knew it wasn't gonna be up there forever, but it was up there for a few years. But I made screenshots of it and I kept that as a memory because I just thought that was so freaking cool. I just love, yo, Mariska, shout out to you. I love you. You are freaking amazing, and I can't believe you did that for me. It was just like one of the most memorable moments of my life. I'll never forget it. And I love every chance I get to tell this story. So I know y'all are probably wondering, like, did you ever see Mariska again after that? Actually, I did. Oh, forget that part right now. But the girl who didn't believe me, finally, I sent her as the picture after it all happened. And she was like, oh my God, you were telling the truth. I'm like, yes, bitch, I ain't got no reason to lie. Listen, now that you're getting to know me, know that if I'm telling you something, it's the truth, even if it sounds crazy, even if it sounds stupid. If I'm telling you, it's the truth, because some crazy stuff be happening to me, and I be having to tell somebody. So now she believes me. And then, funny story, like maybe 2-3 days after this, Mariska had some like big meet and greet. Why you didn't invite me to your little meet and greet? Why? Because I met you and greeted you. Is that a word? Because I meeted you and greeted you already. But anyway, She had this little meet and greet for her fans. Maybe she invited me because I'm not a fan. I'm a friend. But anyway, all her fans were at her little meet and greet, and the girl that I was texting, who thought I was lying, actually went to the meet and greet. And Mariska told the story about how she came to my job at the meet and greet to all the fans, and they were like, "Oh my god!" They were like really excited. So then after the meet and greet, my friend emails me. It's like, "Oh my god, you were telling the truth because Mariska told the same story." I'm like, "I know I was telling the truth because I was there." To answer your question, if you're wondering if I saw Mariska again after that, I actually did, because the company that she met me at closed down, and I emailed her and I was like, my company just closed down, so don't come trying to see me at work no more because I ain't gonna be there. And she was like, "Are you okay? Like, is everything okay?" I'm like, "Girl, I'm gonna be good." So then I started working at this hair care company in the village, and lo and behold, they were shooting Law and Order SVU uh across the street or wherever the hell I was working. So I saw her there. And we talked for a minute and we hugged or whatever. And at that time, she had her baby, so she didn't really have time to be talking to me. She's like, "Oh, hey, good to see you. Okay, bye." But oh, I forgot. How could I forget this part? Before she had her baby, I saw her when she was pregnant, but I didn't know she was pregnant because it was before she started showing. But I did notice that she was a lot more voluptuous than she usually is. Not that I was checking her out like that. Well, maybe I was. But, I was noticing that she was like, pow, she had like big hips and thighs. I was like, "Oh, Mariska kind of thick over there." But how I ended up seeing her, damn, this is a long ass story, was, do you guys remember that show, Hope and Faith? It was starring Kelly Ripa and Faith Ford, I think her name is, and they played sisters. It was a really good show. I was sad when it got canceled. But anyway, while that show was on, they were having people sit in the audience, and I wanted to be in the audience for Hope and Faith. So I called like the audience hotline and I got tickets. And the crazy thing is, every time I would get tickets for the show, I couldn't make it. Like, I had to work late or something would come up where I couldn't make it. So finally, I got tickets, and this time I was able to make it. So me and my friend went to see Hope and Faith. So we're standing in the audience line waiting for them to let us in, and this big black SVU SUV comes by, and it was like really close to me, and it like almost hit me. It went by slow, but I'm like, "Damn, y'all need to watch where y'all going. You about to run me over." Because I talk a lot of shit. But anyway, the car stops, and I see this tall lady get out, and I'm looking like, that looks like Mariska. So I walk over there, and it is. And she's like, "Oh my God, it's you." And I'm like, "Yes, it is." I'm like, she's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "What you doing here?" Come to find out, her husband, he's an actor too. Shout out to Peter Herman. Me and him got the same birthday, August 15th. But anyway, her husband was shooting an episode of Hope and Faith. It was like some Halloween episode, and he was in the episode. So she was going to be in the audience, and I was going to be in the audience. So look at that. So this is funny. While we're sitting in the audience, in between breaks when they're like setting up the stage or whatever, they have like an audience warm up person who comes out and keeps the audience entertained while the crew is doing their work. So he like talks, sings, gives out candy, asks people funny questions. So he asked, "Does anybody have a funny or interesting story that they would like to share with the audience?" And I was like, "Me, I have a story." I'm like, "Please, you have to pick me. Just pick me. Trust me." And he's like, "Okay." So he comes over and he puts the mic to my mouth and he's like, "What's your story?" And I'm like, "One time Mariska Hargitay came to my job and surprised me, and I told this whole ass story." And he's like, "Well, Mariska Hargitay is in the audience, and this sounds like a lie. So I'm about to go over there and ask her." And the audience is looking at me like, "Mm-hmm." And I'm looking back at them like, "Mm-hmm." So he walks on over to Mariska Hargitay and he's like, "Mariska, what do you have to say about that crazy story that lunatic over there just told us? Is that true?" And she was like, "Actually, it is." I was like, "Ha!" The whole audience starts applauding and screaming and stuff. It was hilarious. Oh my God. That day was pretty awesome. Yeah. Every time I think about that, I just smile. It's such a fond memory for me. I really love Mariska Hargitay. I haven't seen or talked to her in a really long time. Actually, when I first moved to Los Angeles, I saw her because I found out that she was doing an episode of The Talk. And I was like, "Dang, I wish I had known. I would have tried to get tickets." So I'm like, "Shoot." So I asked my little cousin Ruba. Y'all know, some of y'all know who Ruba is. He's Shanice's cousin, and we were on the Flex and Shanice show together. But anyway, I asked Ruba, I was like, "Yo, Ruba, do you know anybody that works on The Talk?" because he know everybody. And he was like, actually, I do. My uncle works on the set. And I was like, word. So he calls his aunt and he's like, yo, is there any way we can get on the set of the talk tomorrow? So she's like, yeah, I'm gonna hook y'all up. So she hooks us up with tickets, right? The next day, we woke up late and we were like, oh shit, because we got an email and they were like, you gotta be there like 8 a.m. to line up for the audience. Me and Ruben were knocked out. We woke up at like 10:30 and we were like, oh my God, we missed it. And we were like, forget it. We ain't even going. They ain't gonna let us in. And then Ruben was like, let's just try. And I was like, okay. We jumped up and ran out of the house so fast and got over there. And by the time we got over there, the freaking audience was already in place. They was not letting nobody else in there. So we just like sat off to the side looking stupid. And I'm just sitting there and he's like, I feel dumb sitting out here. And I was like, you know what? Me too. We should probably leave. And as we were leaving, Mariska comes out and she sees us and she sees me and she goes, hey, it's my favorite stalker. And I'm like, what? I'm like, wait a minute, you my stalker. You the one came to my job. And we just started laughing. And Aisha Tyler is standing there like, what the hell is going on? And it's funny because I know Aisha Tyler too, but from a whole different situation, like comedy and stuff. But anyway, it was just like a weird situation. So me and Mariska talked and she's like, you never email me anymore. And I'm like, girl, I got a life now. But the thing is, like, Mariska started having like children and she was busy and I would email her and her ass wouldn't even email me back. And I'm like, look, I ain't got time to be emailing people that ain't gonna email me back. I don't mind not emailing me back sometimes, but she never emailed me back anymore. And I was like, I'm sitting over here talking to myself. And she was like, oh, please email me sometime. I'm like, girl, all right. I do need to email Mariska Hargitay sometimes. I ain't email her in a long ass time. I guess I'll send her an email and say hi. Think of something funny to say to brighten her day. But anyway, that's my Mariska Hargitay story. And I just wanted to tell you, Mariska, I love you dearly. And nobody better not say nothing bad about Mariska because I will let you have it. Okay? Don't say nothing. Mariska is a saint. She's the sweetest, coolest person ever. And that's my story.